Girl, you really got me now. You got me so I don't know what I'm doing. Girl, you really got me now. You got me so I can't sleep at night. Girl, you really got me now. You got me so I don't know where I'm going, yeah. Oh yeah, you really got me now. You got me so I can't sleep at night. You really got me. Oh, you really got me. Oh, you really got me. Please don't ever let me be. I only wanna be by your side. Please don't ever let me be. I only wanna be by your side. Girl, you really got me now. You got me so I don't know what I'm doing, yeah. Oh yeah, you really got me now. Got me so I can't sleep at night. You really got me. You really got me. You really got me. Oh no, no.
Hello and welcome back to NASCAR Lap by Lap with me, Garon, Bach. We've got another exciting show ahead of us here as we have a recap of last week's action at Phoenix. A look ahead at Las Vegas with assistant sports editor at the Las Vegas Sun, Keefer, and some early best bets for Sunday's action. To start off, Sunday was a different day at Phoenix with the option tire. It was a very interesting race to watch, but all in all, I'd say it was one of the better races at Phoenix in a while. Jeff Gluck's pole did well, but I'm happy to break down into it. I'm happy to be here. I'm excited to get the show going. So to start off, Christopher Bell, 3 wins in a row. The last time a driver had 3 wins in a row to open the season was Kevin Harvick, who did it back in 2018. And then now, the most recent to then was Kyle Larson. And I mean, to be with those two names at this point, Christopher Bell has always been kind of either right behind Denny Hamlin or right behind Martin Truex Jr. But I mean, the past 2 seasons, he's kicked it open. This is his team. He's done a phenomenal job in that 20 Toyota Camry. The coolest thing I enjoyed about the weekend was the comers and goers as well. I enjoyed seeing these back markers move it all the way up to the front, fall back with the option tire. And I'm very happy with what NASCAR's choosing to do with it, to use that during the championship race as the only tire. I believe NASCAR's doing the right thing there. It seems to have more speed. It lasts a long time. I mean, there were 10 cautions during this race, 78 laps worth, I believe. It was a long race, very long, but that's typically what happens there at Phoenix. But for the unique style of the track, it's difficult to not call it a short track. It's a mile long. There's some speed there. Drivers can get up to about 140, 150 going into corner entry. It's a very fast-paced track, but just seeing how it played out on Sunday makes me happy to know that NASCAR and Goodyear put in the work to make sure that we would have a fun race, not a snooze fest of a race at Phoenix. Some of the interesting results was Penske. Ryan Blaney and Joey Logano, Joey had his issue to begin the race where he went below the yellow line during a restart early on, which gave William Byron just a run for the first stage. Byron dominated the first stage, and then the rest of it was all Bell. But going back to Blaney, his engine blew up. This was his worst finish there, and this was a driver who had an average finish of like 2.5, third place in the previous races ran there since the Gen 7 car had been introduced into the sport. So it's odd to see, though, that Josh Berry from Wood Brothers Racing finished fourth, because the other three Penske cars didn't do well, but Wood Brothers Racing, it's in the same garage as Penske, it's in the same shop. It's just odd to see that Berry, who is, I mean, Penske is the top Ford team, and Wood Brothers is down there with the rest of them. So it's just odd to see Josh Berry finishing fourth there, but a really good run for him. Zane Smith as well, finishing the top 10 with a ninth place finish. This was a track that he had not placed better than 29th at, but he came in there. He got Front Row Motorsports a really good day there. And then his teammate behind him, I believe 2 Front Row Motorsports vehicles finished in the top 17. Michael McDowell, he over there at Spire, who was there, he had a struggle of a day. Spire Motorsports had a really weird day. They all qualified within the top 10, but they just didn't have speed for the rest of the day. Host of our wrecked out, but I mean, that was just in general. The race was an enjoyable race. First time in a while I could say that about Phoenix. I'm excited to see the championship race there. I can't wait for NASCAR to go through that and change it, but that's a whole nother story. Today, another major thing that came out today was the open exemption rule, to where we saw it work out in Daytona, to where it was Helio Castroneves who didn't qualify for the race, but since Trackhouse had applied for it, he was able to be the 41st entry. NASCAR now, you don't have to qualify for the event, but you're not going to be put into the race to where you can earn any dollars from it. So if you're going to put a vehicle in there into an event, but which most likely will only ever apply to Daytona or Charlotte, or I mean even in Indianapolis as well, the rules now change to where it's not to where the driver who races and the team will not earn any winnings, regardless of if they finish 41st or if they finish first. It's which I like. The drivers like it as well. From what I've read, they seem to enjoy the fact that they don't have to be stuck there. This may also go back to what happened at Phoenix with Catherine Legg. She made her first career start in the Cup Series after she's made a name for herself in her career in many different circuits, even in the Formula Series, I believe IMSA as well. So seeing her come in, that was neat to see, but I mean, she struggled the whole day. And Daniel Suarez also wasn't happy with her, saying that there's no reason why NASCAR should just let someone in just because of their name. And that's something else about it. NASCAR, I believe Suarez is right. NASCAR does not owe anything to anyone just because they want to show up and race. I don't care what your name is. I mean, not everyone can be a Juan Pablo Montoya. That's just the case. But I am happy to see NASCAR be willing to listen to their drivers and understand, you're right, not everyone's cut out for this. It takes a while. There's a reason why there's 4 different touring series in NASCAR, and that's not including the different types of local tracks, things like that. Betting wise, not a good weekend for me. I'm failing those who do read my betting preview. Not doing well. Denny Hamlin came in clutch, though. I had him as a top 10 finisher. He finished second. It was good to see that. I'm happy to see Denny Hamlin. At the beginning of the season, I said that he would finally win the championship, but his teammate, like I said, Christopher Bell, seems to be the one who's owning it. And the track that they're going to this weekend, Las Vegas, is another track Christopher Bell kind of had dominated that last season. So I believe that things will get picked up here very quickly. At some point, Bell's run's going to have to end, though, right? It's going to have to end. But I don't see it ending this weekend. I don't see it ending here in 2 weeks at Miami. I mean, up until probably Talladega, which is a wild card race, and that's in over 2 months. It is insane seeing what they're putting together. But my favorite stat that came out of the weekend, which I don't know if anyone else saw, I'm sure a lot of people have, but it's the fact that Christopher Bell, who's won 3 of the first 4 races, is not the points leader in the point system that NASCAR has now. It's William Byron. William Byron, who won the Daytona 500. Hendrick Motorsports in the 2014, they have decided, hey, it's true. Winning the race is not as important as stage points nowadays. Stage points are the name of the game, it seems. We've seen it to where when it comes down to the final couple of races, these drivers are staying out for stage points. But I think that's an issue NASCAR also needs to work on as well, is the fact that their stage points policy is making it as if that winning the first 3 or 4 races puts you at second place in points. It just doesn't make sense. It doesn't really sit well with me, but hey, that's something NASCAR has already tried to look at. They've listened to former drivers, team owners, drivers now. I believe they'll make the right steps, but I'm content with how the season started so far. I do know that this is one of the first weekends. Well, I believe it's now the second weekend in a row where we don't have any controversy, which sucks to say, but it's nice to see that we had a race played out the full way. We didn't have an overtime finish for once as well. I know it was still a green-white checkered, but it was the final 2 laps, so it's okay. We didn't have to worry about another overtime finish. But it's nice to see NASCAR and the drivers the past 2 weeks be clean, at least in the Cup Series, and not wreck each other. And I'll say that helps whenever you have the best cars and best drivers out in front. I understand that the Gen 7 car has been a different vessel of a vehicle because it's supposed to be even, it's supposed to be straight across the board. All the specs are the same on the vehicle. The only thing that's meant to be changed is for the teams to change everything, is to change the setups. But NASCAR has done a good job so far this season. I've enjoyed the season. I think it's a lot better for a fan standpoint, but we'll see how it continues to be. I wanted to start breaking down, getting into Las Vegas as well, seeing that that's where NASCAR is going this weekend. This has been a track. The intermediate style tracks have produced amazing racing over the past couple of years, at least in the Gen 7 car. You look at Kansas, we had the closest finish in NASCAR Cup Series history there. The Coca-Cola 600, I believe, would have been a great race last season if it weren't for the fact that it started raining right after the halfway point. But NASCAR, the intermediate tracks, I'm excited for this weekend. NASCAR's got a good product there, and going out to Las Vegas, it's still another great product. But here's the thing: it's another track that's been dominated by another team recently. It's been a Hendrick Motorsports show there. The only other driver to win that wasn't a Hendrick vehicle was Team Penske, and that was Joey Logano. So since 2022, it's hard to say that we're going to get a different winner that isn't a Hendrick driver. But like I mentioned, Christopher Bell has done a great job on this type of track. A stat I got from Auto Racing Analytics on X had shared that had the entire 267 laps and the Cup race at Las Vegas been based on median lap speed data, Christopher Bell would have been the only driver to finish on the lead lap, and that was last fall during the playoffs. But a late restart, and Joey Logano found himself in the lead. It was a good job there by the 22 team. As I mentioned, the only other driver to win. Kyle Larson in the past 6 years there, so going back before the Gen 7, he'd won 3 races there in the last 6 years. And then you've got another driver, the one leading the points right now, William Byron. You've got Alex Bowman, who has struggled as of late. I would say that he is now probably Hendrick's 4th driver, which he has been for a little while. He's always been the one considered on the hot seat. Remember last season at Chicago when he got that win, and it was just kind of like a silence to everybody. And then he put together those great runs. He would have made it to the round of 8 if it weren't for some weight falling off of his car at Charlotte. I believe that's, at least in my opinion, I believe that's what happened from that contact he had going onto the front stretch. But the only Hendrick driver that has not won, the only one that has not won at Las Vegas he is Chase Elliott. He's the fan favorite. It's kind of shocking to hear that he hasn't won, but I mean, he struggled. He's Hendrick's third driver, which is so weird to say. Back in 2020, he had won the championship, and then Kyle Larson came right behind him and won in 2021. And since then, it's all been Penske. But I'm going to go ahead and slow down here on the Las Vegas talk, as we're now going to have Case Keefer from the Las Vegas Sun join us here momentarily. So, hello, Case. How are you doing?
Good. How are you?
Doing well. I wanted to start off and just let you introduce yourself and what you do at the Las Vegas Sun.
Well, my name's Case Keefer. I'm the assistant sports editor for actually all Greenspun Media Group. But we own a lot of things here in Las Vegas, including most notably the Las Vegas Sun, of course. Daily newspaper back in the day, still a daily newspaper, though we're distributed with the other newspaper, but obviously a lot of focus online now. Las Vegas Weekly, the weekly alternative magazine, Vegas Magazine, which you probably get in your hotel rooms. So in charge of a lot of our sports coverage and do a lot of it myself. I honestly don't cover a whole lot of NASCAR, but I do a lot of betting, both coverage-wise and personally. I mean, I'm as much as a sports bettor as a writer and an editor at this point. And that's kind of how I found NASCAR a little bit. I do bet on NASCAR week to week, and that's kind of the vantage point I'm coming at it as. So I'll do my best. I won't be at the race. I haven't covered a race in probably 10 years or so. Excuse me. We're down to kind of a smaller staff here, so we have to pick and choose what we cover. So I'm sure you have a lot more NASCAR expertise than even me, but I'm usually looking pretty closely at the betting markets and usually know what's going on here in Las Vegas. It's a pretty exciting weekend. Obviously, huge crowds coming in, for basketball one, but also NASCAR. I know that they draw huge here, and that's why we ultimately got the second race we've now had for several years. So excited for the Pennzoil 400 and happy to talk about whatever I can with you.
It's all good. I will start off and say that I have struggled betting this season, so I will be more than happy to talk about some of my early bets that I had to begin the day. So to start off, for an outright winner, I mean this was pretty easy for me. I know there's not a lot of value with it, but I was looking at Christopher Bell and Kyle Larson, at least on DraftKings. They're both neck and neck. I was wondering what you felt about that.
I was hoping that Kyle Larson, of course, I think is who I always start with at this track of the last few years. And I was hoping maybe, you probably might even have more sports books wherever you are available to here in Nevada. If you play through the legal market, we have like 8 shops. So I was scrolling all of them, seeing the opening odds, hoping someone maybe opened him like 5-1 or better. To me, I think he's so much above everyone else that I would be willing to do that. However, as I'm sure you've seen, I haven't seen the DraftKings prices, but I mean, it's all like plus 350. I think I might have seen 1-4-1, and I haven't seen anything better than that yet. And that to me, I mean, as you know from being a big fan of the sport and covering it, there's just so much that can happen in a NASCAR race, and especially there's so many competitive cars on these 1.5 mile ovals, and especially Las Vegas. I just can't bring myself to dip below 5-1. I don't necessarily love Bell this week. It's hard to say that with what he's doing, but if I had to bet one of those two guys, it would be Larson, and I'm not ruling it out. Maybe we'll see. There's so much action that comes in this race in Las Vegas. This is the most bet race of the year. I mean, it puts like the Daytona 500 to shame if you talk to the bookmakers. So we'll see what happens in practice and qualifying. We'll see maybe if the market pushes him up a little bit. I would not rule out betting Kyle Larson, but ultimately I haven't bet either of those two guys yet. But I think you're in the right place. I mean, those are the two favorites, obviously the two most likely winners. But for me, I'd be more likely to have some money on Kyle Larson come Sunday.
Okay. Another Kyle from the area, Kyle Busch. A top 10 bet of his was minus 165. He's struggled recently, but I was wondering how you felt about that value and if you felt that maybe we could push it a little bit more instead of just a minus 165 on that one.
Yeah, I haven't looked a lot at the placement markets yet. Usually something I do closer to the race. Minus 165. I mean, number one, I don't bet a lot of the placements, honestly. I'm sure it's the same for the national books, but here, I mean, the hold is just so high. If you do the math of how much they're holding these top 10, you're not getting anywhere near to true odds. And that kind of would be my first reaction with minus 165. That seems pretty chalky. Just, I mean, obviously, talent wise, it's not too chalky. I mean, he's as good as they come, and he's proven it here. He won here, I believe. I believe the first year I ever covered this race was 2010, maybe. I think he had won in 2009, and he's been in contention since then. I don't think he's won since then. So obviously he's capable of good things, but just that equipment and I think I'd need a little bit better than minus 165. Definitely closer to even money. Not saying he can't do it, of course, but just probabilistically, I think it's probably a little longer shot than that. I think it'd be great for Las Vegas. It'd be fun to have the story of him winning again at home. But I think with like I was kind of saying about laying the short prices, there's just so many contenders in this race now. I think minus 165 is a little too chalky for me.
So out in Las Vegas recently, there's been a certain team that's dominated. I was talking about earlier with Hendrick Motorsports, and you mentioned Kyle Larson. Do you think there's any value on betting on any of the on the longer shots, maybe an Alex Bowman or a Chase Elliott this weekend as well?
Well, you danced around the one guy I have bet so far. I fired on William Byron at 8-1. Here was the best prices I saw. I think there's still some 750s out there. I mean, to me, he hasn't been the best at Las Vegas, but he's been neck and neck. I believe he won here 2 years ago. Last year he was really fast. I think right when I was coming in, I heard you talk about Chase Elliott, and I kind of had the same thoughts as you when I first saw. I think he might have posted somewhere here 20-1, and to me, I was like, wow, 20-1 for a Hendrick car. Guys had speed here in the past. I think I remember the year he won the whole series, the Cup Series. I think he was super fast that year. Didn't end up winning. Might have been in an accident or something. But so my first reaction was 20-1's too much. I thought I was gonna be on Chase Elliott. But then I digged into it a little bit more, and he really hasn't been great here in the next gen car. It seemed a little more fair the more I thought about it. I am a little intrigued by Alex Bowman right now. Like I said, the only thing I've bet so far is William Byron at 8-1. At 25-1, I've seen Alex Bowman at. I think especially we see him do so well at these high tire wear tracks. And I think Las Vegas, even talking to people over there, I did a TV show I usually do weekly last year with one of the heads of the track. And he was talking about how much more tire wear there is on the track than there has been in the past, and how they've really seen that. And I know the data bears it out too. So whenever the track is trending that way, that makes me look more towards a guy like Alex Bowman. I cashed last week with an Alex Bowman top 10 bet in Phoenix, kind of one of the savers of the day for me. I ended up losing a little bit of money on that race, but that was one of my big bets, and it came through. I made it right before. Maybe that's the way I look to attack that again here, because I do think he will have speed, and I think the way Las Vegas is trending right now sets up to his strengths. So I haven't gotten there yet, but I like where you're thinking for that. If I had to bet him right now, obviously I've already bet Byron, so at price, he's my favorite of the Hendrick guys. I would probably put Bowman second, just at price, getting the 25-1. Then Larson, like I said, I just feels like he's going to win, so I'd like to have some exposure there if possible, but I think the price is a little too short for me. And then maybe we'll see if it should be first reactions or digging into things and trusting the data. Because my first reaction, I liked Elliott, but the more I've looked at it, I don't know. There's something not fully right there. So he would be my distant fourth out of those guys, at least in the current betting odds.
So you mentioned about just how far Elliott was out. I wanted to ask you, just as a general question for those who are trying to get into NASCAR sports betting, where do you like to set your line for a value bet, regardless of top 5, top 3, winner?
I mean, to me, it's just all math based. I mean, I'll bet anything if I think it's value. I mean, if Kyle Larson has, I don't know, what's something ridiculous, like a 10-second lead going in the final lap, and he's minus 1,000, I'll bet minus 1,000. So really, to me, it's just all it's wherever you can find value. Honestly, what I bet the most, it seems like it's kind of fallen out of favor as sports betting has gotten so much bigger and nationwide, so many people are in it. But back in the day when I started betting a lot here in Las Vegas, and it took a while before I was in NASCAR, but it was really just all outrights and head-to-head matchups. I mean, that was all it was in Las Vegas. So I still think my biggest volume week to week is still on the matchups. Of course, most of those at most sports books don't start coming out till later in the week, so I haven't bet any yet this week. I do know there's a few up already actually this week, just at Las Vegas. this race commands so much attention and betting action here in Las Vegas. They do get some stuff out earlier, but I haven't really dug into them yet. But typically, I mean, I'm betting the outrights right away, obviously, because they come out the soonest. I think that's where you can find some values. But you know, my highest volume will be on matchups on a week-to-week basis.
So, what got you into NASCAR sports betting? You mentioned that it was one of the last sports you got into. What got you to where you were like, okay, I'll try it out?
Yeah, probably a pretty strange trajectory, because I was never really into NASCAR, to be honest. I grew up in the South before I moved out here, and of course, in the South, I feel like, I'm sure it's still this way. It was huge, and a lot of people were into it. It just never was really the thing for me, and it probably makes absolutely no sense. But I kind of got into it through golf. I started betting golf a lot. In like kind of right before 2020, maybe like 2017 to 2019. And I just had a lot of success with golf. I still think it's my highest ROI sport. And it was really from the future market and the outright market. I think I had some way of pricing things, some way of looking things differently that allowed me to have a lot of success in that. So I started thinking, you know, what other sports could I attack this with that has that kind of like, you know, week to week outright market. It's as different as the sports are. They're kind of similar in that way, that the number one market that everyone talks about that you're looking for is the outright winner. You can bet a little to make a lot, obviously. And if you know how to attack them, there's lines all over the place. You know, if we're betting a basketball game today, you know, the biggest difference we're going to see is like a half a point from one sports book to another. But, you know, in NASCAR or golf, especially in these big events that take a lot of money, it's not all that rare to see, you know, like one place will have a guy 50-1 and another place will have a 25-1. So if you're willing to dig and shop and do the work and really get to know the people, you know, the competitors, I guess, and not even technical mastery of the sport, which I definitely don't have in NASCAR. But if you just get to know some of the data and how to interpret it, I feel like there are edges there. So yeah, it was really fully just the betting aspect that brought me to NASCAR, and more specifically, kind of the outright betting. And I mean, as you know, NASCAR is tough. I mean, it's been up and down. I've had great years. I've had terrible years. I think I'm doing okay this year. I think I might be up just a little bit. I had Christopher Bell at Coda, so that was nice. And then I hit both dual races in Daytona, so that's actually why I'm up a little bit. But it's tough. There's a lot of variance, but if you stick with it, you have the mindset, and you think you're looking at the right things. I'm really attracted to the whole outright betting space. And like I said, I think the matchups, I think there's a lot that you can take advantage of there. I think a lot of the people setting the lines, at least here in Las Vegas, aren't all that familiar or sharper with the sport than I am. So if you dig in, I feel like you can find some edges there.
Well, Case, going back to open up the season is insane, by the way. I'd like to just give you a round of applause for that, for the dual races. But I wanted to thank you for joining us. I appreciate your time so much. And I mean, I'm sorry that you won't be watching the race this weekend. I think it'll be a good one. So, but I just want to
I'll have it on probably.
Okay.
I'll have it on probably. I just won't be at the actual track. I do a lot with Selection Sunday, so I got to be ready to write up a lot of stuff when the bracket gets out. But I'll have my eye on it for sure.
All right. Well, Case, you have a good one. You have a good rest of your day. I appreciate it.
All right. Thanks a lot, man. Good to talk.
So that was Case Keefer from the Las Vegas Sun. I have recently gotten into sports betting with NASCAR during the summer, and something that never works the best is whenever you win your first bet on a parlay. So don't take my words of wisdom when I say to just keep betting, to keep winning. Don't do that. But I believe he had some really good insight especially on the Hendrick cars. I loved what he said about Chase Elliott to where he mentioned about how Elliott has struggled the past couple of seasons, and that he here at Phoenix, here at Las Vegas, he said that he was going to be the fourth Hendrick car he would pick. And that's something that for me personally, I'd be shocked to hear. But William Byron's won the Daytona 500. He's been in the championship 4 back-to-back years. Kyle Larson is just Kyle Larson. He's considered one of the greatest racers in the world. And then you've got Alex Bowman, which is odd to see, but Alex Bowman is just one of those consistent racers. Keeps finding a top 10 finish, top 15 finish, where he just keeps himself high up in the points. I wanted to get to what if for Christopher Bell here for 4 in a row. It's always fun to just talk about what ifs, and with Christopher Bell winning 4 in a row, it'd be the first time since 2007 which was Jimmy Johnson who did it, and then before that it was Jeff Gordon. And both of those seasons, those drivers went on to win the championship. Now, obviously, one of those was during the Winston Cup points era with Gordon, and the other one was during the chase with Johnson. But I think that regardless of the type of format we have as a playoff, I think Bell has already solidified himself as with just the consistency he's had to be there to dominate races, to be there late. I think that Bell has one of the best opportunities to win a championship ever this season. I mean, last season, it's really funny to see, but last season after the whole Martinsville fiasco where he tried to Ross Chastain himself through turns 3 and 4, and it cost him the spot, and then with all the team manipulation, Bell has just flipped a switch. He has just said, "Screw it, I'm doing me. I'm just going to dominate," and that's what he's done. I mean, you have to remember we consider Kyle Larson one of the best drivers in the world, but Larson's rival for a while here and during dirt was Christopher Bell, who that's something else I mentioned in my article on Sunday. Bell, he was not allowed to do any extracurricular activities, and then Joe Gibbs was like, you know what, go ahead. And it seems to have made Bell just happier, better. It's all around just make him a better racer. And Joe Gibbs still isn't a big fan of allowing it, but I believe that it's the right move. It's the right call, because while you're running the risk of a driver getting injured, I mean, wouldn't you rather want one of your drivers to be happy? And we see what's working here. The last best bet I had for this weekend was Ross Chastain at a -115 for a top 10 finish, because he has the best average finish among active drivers at Las Vegas since 2022. His worst finish there is only 12th. While he struggled, I think this is something like what happened with Denny Hamlin. Denny Hamlin has not struggled this season. He's put together a few good runs, but I think there's got to be a race early where a driver makes a statement, says, hey, I'm here. I can be in the top 5. I can be in the top 10. And I think this is the race for Ross Chastain. I think that Trackhouse Racing needs a good finish from somebody, not from a Shane Van Gisbergen, not on a road course. It needs to be from somebody who's going to the cookie cutter of NASCAR. It's the intermediate tracks. These are the tracks where you will see the most racing happening on, and it's important to be able to find a top 10 there. And I think Ross Chastain does it. I think with what he's done there recently, what he's done at other tracks. I mean, look at Nashville last season. I think that Ross Chastain does it well, and that it's a good value for an early best bet. But I want to thank you guys for joining us once again, NASCAR Lap by Lap. I'm so excited for next week's show. It'll be here in South Florida, the race will be, so we should have some good insight for that whole weekend. But thank you guys for joining us once again. I've been Garon Bach, and I appreciate you guys for sticking around with us. Thank you so much.